Hello, slightly late record today because I forgot to charge my camera. Again, I need a post-it note and I need that post-it note to be just there so I remember to look at it. Anyway, Work in Progress Wednesday, it is all weaving again this week because that's what I've been doing. I do have plans to do some other stuff in the future, in the not too distant future for that matter. But for the time being, I'm just really enjoying weaving, so I'm doing that. And I'm also enjoying the slow but steady reduction in the size of my stash, although that would be happening more quickly if I stopped buying yarn. But again, that doesn't feel like it works mathematically. It doesn't feel like a statement that should be true, so I'm just going to let it go. Last week on the loom, I had the 80s Has Exploded on an Arcade Carpet yarn, which I knew as soon as I saw it on the website that I needed to weave it up because the colours are just all of the colours very bright. But I wasn't sure how it was going to really actually work, and the answer to that is really well. I'm so excited. Look at this. Look at the... I haven't twisted the fringe yet, and of course it hasn't been wet finished because that's how I roll. I will wet finish it. I will twist the fringe, but look at this. So this is the side that I showed you last week because it was the top side on the loom with the weft skips. So I've got these little pairs of weft skips there to create a pattern on that side. And the reason I've done that on that side is to get, let me find a good example with some nice bright colours, warp floats. So you might be able to see, or you'd be able to see better if I was holding this up properly. This is not going to be a long-term career goal for me, obviously, presenting things on game shows. But you can see those pairs there of warp floats. So what that's done is given it some texture at the sides, and also when I wet finish, that will pull in and give it a little bit more texture as well as letting some of the colours just pop out and be just out and proud. So this is... I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased with it. I've actually put more of this yarn on the loom to do something else with. I did find my fringe twister. I haven't twisted the fringes on this, and I haven't done the pink and grey one from last week, but I will get that done. I'm falling into the kind of bad habit of not finishing my fringes before I warp up a new project, and I need to not do that because otherwise I just never get round to twisting the fringes. It's not difficult, it's just I find it a bit tedious. So I will put something on YouTube on my tablet, prop it up on the table and get these done, get them wet finished and show you this and the pink and grey from last week next week. Yeah, that works chronologically. So that is... I'm really excited about this. I think it came out great. I mean, it's not going to be for everybody. No, people are going to look at that and go, okay. But for me, it's spectacular. Look at all of these colours, and they're all just doing their own thing. It's brilliant. Anyway, what I have on the loom is some more of this, but also the grayscale version. So I'll show you that now. I'll just give you a moment to adjust to this visually because there is a lot going on. So I'm using the same yarn that I was using last week, which is the Anatolia wool from Ice Yarns in the 1980s colourway. That's not what they've called it, that's what I've called it, and I think I'm correct to do so. And the grayscale. And I thought they might work together, so I'm giving it a go. I'm not sampling it, obviously, because I've jumped right into this big piece. And my camera, a little bit alarmingly, thinks that this one is a face. So I'm just going to get those out of the way in case they have got hauntings. So put you over there, don't haunt me. Now, the other thing that I've got going on with this is a Fibonacci stripe pattern. I'll just let you be impressed by that for a minute. I know, thank you. So Fibonacci stripes are a really good way in weaving to get random width stripes without it looking too random so that it stays balanced. The Fibonacci sequence is a mathematical sequence, it's okay, it doesn't hurt, where every number in the sequence is the total of the previous two numbers. So I'll show you the sequence that I used here, but I will point out I'm going to say 1, and that 1 translates to 2 on the loom, because when I say 1, that means I've pulled 1 loop through, and then obviously when I've finished slaying the loom or dressing the loom, that ends up as 2. I say obviously, let me know in the comments if you've got no idea what I'm talking about, just on that bit, not in general. So here's the Fibonacci sequence that I've used. I was going to do this with computer graphics, but I don't have that kind of time. So my Fibonacci sequence here is 1, then 1, because there's nothing here to add that 1 to, so it's 2 1s, and then 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8. So that gives me this thick band of colour in the middle is the 8, and then it goes out with the 5, the 3, the 2 and the 1s, and then on the sides I have the thick bands of colour in the grayscale, and that decreases towards the middle. I I don't know if that made sense. You can ask in the comments about that too, but those are the only two things. Because I don't feel like I generally make sense. Anyway, it is chaos and pandemonium. I'm kind of loving it. The stripe pattern would be more obvious if one of these yarns was plain, or if both of these yarns were plain. I do have one that I made just in shades of brown, so I might pop that in the community tab so you can have a look at it and see what this would look like if it was a little bit more calm, a little bit more chill. But I am enjoying it. I really like how the grayscale and the colours are working together. So I have still more of this yarn, because when you buy from Ice Yarns, like when I bought that, you have to buy it in a package of 8. So this, I've got more of that left. I've got more of the grayscale left. I will be doing other things with them, not necessarily soon. The weather is warming up, and I am weaving particularly for a market that's coming up, so I should probably think about weaving some lighter weight things. But on the other hand, I am probably just going to continue to weave whatever it is that I feel like weaving. Anyway, that's me yammering on in a way that may or may not make sense. I am happy to clarify in the comments. I do feel like I tripped over my own face a little bit there. Anyway, that's what's on the big loom. So you might be able to tell from the slightly awkward way that I'm standing, but I also have the little loom. Now this yarn has been kicking around in my stash for a couple of years. I've put it on the loom purely to get rid of it, because it was a big cake of yarn that I had to keep moving out of the way to get to other yarn, and I just thought, put it on the loom, get it out of your system, get it out of your stash. This is Horizon by Hobie Yarns in the rainbow colourway. And as you can probably see, it's not as wide as I was planning for it to be. And you can tell that in 2 ways. First of all, it doesn't reach between my markers. This is a technique that a lot of weavers use. You mark the heddle with a bit of string or even a bit of texture if you're going to do the same width a lot, wood burn it, whatever. And then you can just warp up without having to worry about counting everything and get your weaving centered, because you've got your 2 markers. This is not centered, as you can tell, because I stopped here when I was warping it up. Now, I don't think it's as important on these smaller looms, but on a larger loom, being centered is reasonably important, because it helps keep your fell line, which is the line at the top of your weaving there, helps keep it straight. Now, the reason it's so narrow is because of manufacturer's knots. Manufacturer's knots you can work around in crochet and knitting. You can work around them in your weft yarn, because you can just cut around them, basically. They don't work in warp, because they're not strong enough to hold the tension of being a warp. Once you start advancing, once they start getting friction from the heddle, they can and do just untie themselves. So I hit a manufacturer's knot somewhere around here, and it wasn't in colour progression. It was this red going into green rather than into either purple or orange. And then I did try to get this colour progression to continue for a little bit more, but I couldn't get it to line up properly. So rather than have a sudden change in the colour progression, which I thought would look a bit strange, I just thought, okay, we'll just do a narrow one then. I'm ignoring the mosquito. I've had a chat with the mosquito about its whole situation, and we're not talking. So this is what's on the little loom. It is just the rainbow yarn again, so I'm going rainbow from bottom to top. I don't know that I'll get a whole... I should get a whole spectrum in. We'll see. We'll find out. Maybe this will be off the loom for next week. I don't know. I'm not making any promises on that, but that is what is on the little loom. There is quite a lot of mosquitoes now. I think they have it in for me. So what I am going to say is thank you very much for watching. I am going to go inside where there are fewer mosquitoes, and then I'm going to go and check, because my dog was barking at something before, and at the risk of sounding like a little bit too Australian, the dog was barking at something, and I went to check, and it was an echidna. So the dog's inside, and I'm hoping the echidna has vacated the backyard, but I am going to go and check that, and then I'm going to go inside where there are no mosquitoes. That's not actually true. It's an old house. There's a lot of mosquitoes inside, because there's a lot of holes in the house. Anyway, I have just wandered completely away from the topic, and I'm halfway to a new topic, so I'm going to stop. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week. Take care of yourself, and bye for now.